Big Mike Grant. Hey everybody, it's Saturday, February 17th, 2018. Welcome to the Big Mike Rant. I'm Big Mike. Listen, today is going to be a serious subject, a serious conversation, one-sided here. I want to talk to you a little bit about, in general, the general subject would be school shootings, but most of the time I think we could really classify that argument as responsible gun ownership. Okay. First off, full disclosure, I'm a gun owner. My family are gun owners. We've always kind of had guns. We are concealed carry permit holders. I wear a gun on my side, probably about 85% of the time when I go out. It's just there. It's habit. I've almost always done it since I was allowed to have a permit, and just want to make sure you knew that my argument or my discussion on the subject is going to be tainted by that. Secondly, I'm trying to learn as I give these Big Mike rants. I'm trying to learn to look at the camera because the camera represents the audience, and I'm getting a little better at it. But most of the time, I spend half the time looking around because I'm not nervous, but I'm just not used to paying attention to where the camera is. So sorry about that. If it drives you buggy, I apologize. But first off, I would just like to say that. If you have to ask this question, I'm just going to say it out loud. I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment. I believe that, in general, I think that it's a good thing that the American public are allowed to own firearms. And I'm as sad as everybody else is about, morons that go get AR-15s or like-minded single-shot weapons and, either modify them to be illegal weapons or they just take them as is and go into schools and malls and whatnot and start shooting people up. That's, to me, that's the difference between that person and a legal gun owner is about the same thing as the difference between a race car driver and your mother driving a car on Sunday. Although people don't die, and you could call both of them you could call both of them car drivers. There's a world of difference between the two, and kind of here's what I mean. I'm not going to spend this 5 minutes, trying to make my case with statistics, by the way, because there's millions of statistics out there. Figures lie and liars figure. But there is one or two, statistics that make the argument for me. They're just, you don't have to become a big numbers guy to see it. Number one is that there are 12 trillion rounds of ammunition being legally held by legal gun owners, and there's 101 guns for every 100 legal gun owners. Now, what does that mean? That means if we, meaning the legal gun owners and the legal ammunition owners in America, were a problem, you would know it. Number one. Number two, I don't see how, my personal opinion, I don't see how more regulation toward legal gun ownership is the answer, because in general it's not a legal gun owner that gets the gun and goes out and starts shooting people. It's people that have either obtained the gun illegally or should not have been allowed to own a gun, or people that if someone else had done their job correctly or someone else had reported them correctly, they would not have been allowed to buy the weapon. Now, I understand there are going to be exceptions to that. I'm just saying in general, and that's why I'm not going to try and use statistics, because I don't want this to become a distracting, one-sided conversation about numbers and not about the issue. So here's the issue. Gun control in general, it doesn't work. People still die in Australia every year. There's less of them, but there's also less people. There's 23 million people in Australia or something like that, spread out all over a country the size that it is. 2 New York cities basically is all the people that are in Australia. So yes, they have less gun deaths, and they have less per 1,000 or per 100 or whatever their number was. I would agree with that. And they have had a very radical, come to Jesus with how they view gun ownership, and it's almost impossible to get a weapon in Australia. Okay, I get it. 261 people died last year of gunshots. I don't know how that happened if they have the perfect gun system, but anyway. People die every year in every country that has outlawed the possession and use of firearms. England has gun deaths every year. They also have less gun ownership. You know, they have the same kind of issue we do. It's the criminals that's killing people, not the legal gun, person with a farm and a shotgun. It's the criminals that were robbing a bank that took the extraordinary step of having a weapon when they robbed the bank or when they did the drug sale or whatever. It's just not accurate to say that the cause of death is guns, because if somebody really wants to kill somebody, they will find a way to do it. There were child killings in Australia recently where some nut job killed 8 people with a knife, or there was a place called Quaker Hill where he killed 11 people in a nursing home. They had a serial killer that was killing people in nursing homes, and he did it by setting a nursing home on fire. And then one guy went crazy and ran around and killed people with a hammer. The fact is this, whether somebody uses a hammer, tries to burn down the nursing home you're in, or gets a shotgun or something else and tries to kill you, if they're crazy enough and that's their objective, they're going to do it. It doesn't have to be a gun that makes that happen. And I suspect, like in a lot of countries, if there were not guns available, and people were still adamant about wanting to kill each other, they would just use a different weapon. But the fact is this, gun control doesn't work, and stopping and using an argument that you can point at another country and say, look at them, they figured out how to solve it. That's just statistical manipulation. It doesn't solve the problem. And the reason I say that is because people still die in England every year of gunshots, usually perpetrated by criminals who didn't follow the law. And 261 people lost their lives in Australia. I think it was 2015 was the latest reporting. And yes, 261. Wow, that's not as many as the United States, Mike. Yeah, I know. Well, there's only 23 million people there, so 2 New York cities, like I said. So of course there's going to be less deaths, but just looking at it from that point of view, bad people are always going to find a way to get their way or to kill by other methods. And I would much rather, if it's me, and it is, in this opinion, it's my opinion, I would much rather that people, my family, myself, they have a way to defend themselves or the capacity than to have someone else take it away because a nut job with a gun went into a school. And as sad as that is, I don't support mentally ill people having guns, and I don't know how that happened. But as sad as that is, I still don't think that is the answer, is to take away a legal gun owner's right to own a gun. Now, I don't always agree with the NRA, and sometimes they come out with some pretty outlandish things, and Wayne LaPierre is kind of nuts. But the point of it is to say, if legal gun owners were the problem, you would know it. Now, if you want to close the so-called gun show loophole, I'm all for that. Make everybody go through the same thing I had to do to get a weapon, get a permit. I don't care about that, but that's not the problem. I mean, criminals, people that are going to rob banks, and people that carry handguns in order to perpetrate crime, gangbangers, whatnot, they aren't following the law to begin with. So how is making a regulation that affects me going to solve a problem created by someone who don't give a crap about the law to begin with? See, that don't make any sense to me. And the second thing is the way that it's the media, I guess, is a little bit of it. I hesitate to be on the fake news bandwagon because that's kind of a crazy point of view to begin with. But there's an organization called Everytown, which is sort of like being described as the anti-NRA. They're an organization founded by Michael Bloomberg, the ex-mayor of New York City, and he's a billionaire, and he put his money towards this organization. Now, they always put some woman up as the president. They don't mention him anywhere because they don't want anybody to know, just thinking about gun control, oh, that's Michael Bloomberg. They want you to think that it's an organization founded by housewives, but it's not. But they have defined school shooting, and I'm going to read this from a piece of paper because I thought it was interesting how they've manipulated the statistic. The first thing they do is they accuse the NRA and legal gun owners of misusing statistics. And then the second thing they do is misuse statistics. It's crazy. So here's their definition of a school shooting. So they say there has been 18 school shootings since January the 1st, and this is directly from their website. This is their definition of a school shooting. So anytime a firearm discharges a live round inside or into a school building or onto a school campus or grounds, as documented by the press, and when necessary, confirmed through further inquiry with law enforcement or school officials. So, gangbanger from 3 blocks away shoots, a bullet hits the school, that's a school shooting. 3 o'clock in the morning, and these are actual cases, 3 o'clock in the morning, guy pulls up onto the grounds of a school and blows his brains out after calling 911 at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's a school shooting. Somebody is actually teaching a self-defense class and sets off the gun. Nobody is hurt, puts a hole in the floor, that's a school shooting. So out of those 18 shootings, malicious intent, and every one of them's a bad thing. I'm not saying that there's a good way to express it, but there was only 3. So we don't need to, inflate the statistics to make it better or make it worse. We just need to tell the truth. And the truth is, figure out a way to keep the idiots and the nuts and the people that shouldn't have handguns, figure out a way to keep that out of their hands, and we'll all be happy. It doesn't have anything to do with legal gun owners, though. Yeah. Anyway, this Big Mike rant, it's Saturday, February 17th, 2018. Y'all try and have a great weekend. See ya.